let's go ahead and get started here. Okay, today's topic is the low income subsidy. Okay. This is Trainer David coming at you. I'm here in Oregon. So what we're going to be talking about here today is the federal program for extra help. Okay. Now, one of the things about Medicare that can be just most frustrating, especially if you're new to Medicare, is that there can be multiple names for the same thing, and all of them are correct. In today's discussion of the low income subsidy, it's also known as extra help or even LIS, the initials. Now, even CMS, Medicare, Social Security use these terms, interchangeably in both the literature and on their websites. Now, when I talk with Medicare beneficiaries, I always use the term extra help. I don't think these people need to be reminded that they have low income. I think they already know it. Okay. So anyone who has Medicare and is entitled to Part A and or has Part B, okay, those are the requirements to have Part D, right, as in a prescription drug plan, can have a prescription drug plan. Now, some people with limited resources and income also may be able to get extra help with the cost, the monthly premiums, the annual deductibles, and the prescription copayment, all as it's related to the Medicare prescription drug plan. Now, extra help is estimated to be worth about $5,000 a year. And this is a statement that you're going to see throughout the literature and probably many times today, is that many people qualify for these big savings and don't even know it. To find out if you qualify for Social Security will need to know the value of your savings, your investment, your real estate other than your home, and your income. Okay. And that's pretty much about it. I mean, whether you're married or not, living together or not, will all come into play. So, like I said, federal program. Now, the monthly premium help that you can get on here is going to be based on the state that you live in. Now, on the low end is Texas. There, it's going to provide about $22.48 a month towards the Medicare monthly premium. And on the high end, we would have Wisconsin providing about $40.70, towards your Medicare premium. A good average, about $30, as I was looking across the country. The annual deductible, that $445, that's your Part D annual deductible. That's the maximum that it can be. But those on extra help, with full extra help, goes to zero. In other words, there is no annual deductible. And if you only get partial extra help, because you can just get some, not all of it, it gets reduced down to $92. So it's, as we're going to see, getting any of this program at all is going to be a great benefit. And it's going to help with your prescription coinsurance and co-payments. I have a slide on that that'll kind of give you a real good picture. One of the other things, let's see. Yep, that is the next slide there. Okay. This is a little bit on how those co-payments work. If you have the extra help, and it's somebody that is got the full benefit and they're dual eligible, meaning they have both Medicare and Medicaid, and they're institutionalized, living in some sort of a nursing home, or it's the deductible goes to zero, the co-payments go to zero, catastrophic coverage all goes to zero. So, I mean, they don't pay anything. obviously. Now, if you're not institutionalized, that you are at 100% of federal poverty level, FPL, and you are dual eligible, meaning you get both Medicare and Medicaid. Again, your deductible goes to zero, but your co-payments, now this is going to be the lesser of, right? So if you had a generic that costs less than $1.30, you'd pay the lesser. But the max you'd pay is $1.30 on a generic and $4 on a name brand. And once you got into catastrophic coverage, it all goes to zero. So then we can get the full benefit, but not be dual eligible. And, but we're making a less than, so we're greater than 100% of federal poverty level, but we're less than 135, okay? So what happens there is my deductible is still at zero, but my co-payment goes up on $3.70 for a generic and $9.20 for a brand drug, brand name type. So that would be like a tier 3, right? Now, my co-payment when I go into the catastrophic coverage goes to zero. Okay. So now, if I'm in that partial range where I get some help, but not a full amount, the full extra help, which really means I'm between 135% of and 100, but less than 150 of federal poverty level, I get a deductible of instead of $445, it drops down to $92. My co-payment goes to 15%. Remember, the max used to be 25%. Well, now it's 15%. So I'll be getting my drugs at a lot less. And then if I go into catastrophic coverage, I'm again at the 370 or the 920, depending on whether it's generic or a name brand. So you can see that it's going to help out quite a bit. And I'll give you a specific case here in a moment. We always ask, do I qualify? Yeah, we skipped a slide there. Yeah, I did. Late enrollment penalty. Okay, we all know that if you don't get your Part D when you're supposed to, when you first enroll in Medicare or when you first are eligible, depending, you could have stayed in a plan at work or whatever. And when you do, if you miss all those gates and you don't enroll in a drug plan, you'd have a pretty hefty penalty. Here's the common scenario that I run into in the real world out there. Will be typically somebody who is 70s or in their 80s and their, or more. Didn't get a drug plan back in 06 when Part D became available. Nobody told them there would be a penalty. And besides, they weren't taking anything. Maybe a couple of generic. Figure it seems like almost everybody was taking some kind of a blood pressure pill and maybe a cholesterol pill. They were all generic. They were only $4 to $5 anyway. Never cared, right? But now they're older. They may need some very expensive drugs that are out there, and they're unable to get drug coverage. And if they do, they're going to be paying these huge penalties. However, if you do get extra help, the late enrollment penalty is waived with extra help. Okay. So that's another great benefit that is available there. So the question always comes up to qualify. Okay. So I'm going to be giving out just a whole lot of numbers here today. And I just don't get too hung up on the number itself. Okay? I mean, here's what's happening at this point where every year they change. So you have to learn new numbers every year, no matter what. And number two, right now is the time that they're changing. Okay. So some of the numbers we'll be looking at today are going to be from 2020. Some are already new for 2021. The only thing that's going to be constant is when we're talking about these percentages. Okay? When I say that you need to make less than 150% of federal poverty level, it doesn't care what the number of federal poverty level is. It's just that, and that's for this program, because that poverty level chart that we're going to look at in a bit, remember, is all tied to federal programs. So Medicaid is the 100%. Extra help maxes out at 150%. But Affordable Care Act, Silver Plan, all that business is, at 400% of federal poverty level. So that chart is used in all the government programs, and those percentages don't change, even if the underlying number does. Another thing is I don't know if anybody here is selling in the territories. And by the territories, I mean the US possessions like Puerto Rico, the Virgin Islands, or Guam, or Micronesia, American Samoa. Okay, you can't get extra help out in any of the US territories. Many of the territories do have their own have their own program. So if you know of anybody who's living there, or there are similar programs available from each specific territory, but not this one. So looking at 2020, you could have up to $19,140 in income, $25,860 if you were a married couple, and then you could have assets, individually or as a married couple, almost up to $30,000, and still qualify under the extra help. Now I'm going to go into talking a bit about what does and doesn't count, and we'll see that. But when we're talking about assets and cash, it's really stocks, bonds, cash is what counts. So just try to keep that in mind here, okay? And there'll be resources that don't qualify. Now, as we kind of get through here, trying to get my computer to cooperate with me. Okay, here we have. I couldn't get a nice, clean 2021 FP, federal poverty level chart. So I kind of cobbled this one together from a couple of different resources. I think I got this out of the state of Washington. It's not Washington's, it's the federal poverty level, but it had a bunch of other stuff on there with it. So I kind of just cut and pasted this together. The federal poverty level being the yellow, okay? And everything else is going to be based on that. For the programs we're looking at in extra help, the key values that are called out are going to be the 150%, the 135%, the 100%, and less than 100%. And then the corresponding part down there below is what that breaks out into as a monthly amount. Now, all the calculations that we're going to be looking at are based on this chart. And as you can see, when they talk about the poverty level, it's based on a combination of your household size and your income. Now, I'm going to make kind of a blanket statement here. This is income-wise anyway. To qualify for extra help, the combination of household size and income must fall below 150% of federal poverty level. And you would literally be surprised at the number of seniors that are raising grandchildren or even still have children at home that are, that they're fully taken care of still. So it's not too difficult to see that you could be making, what I would consider not really a good living, but I mean a reasonable living, and still be at 140% of poverty level, 150% of poverty level. Now, a couple of things to keep in mind when we're dealing with these numbers. Come on, computer here. It's pretty sensitive. Is that a lot of times we're dealing with people whose real sole income is going to be their Social Security benefit. Now, Social Security benefits are pretty modest. I mean, even at the 150% level, the monthly check is about $1,466. Okay. If you were to go out there and Google and find out what the average Social Security benefit check is, it's not much more than that. It's $1,543 a month. That's the average one out there, or Social Security benefit. And so to be at the 150% level, you're only making about $80 less than the average. And so the average, disabled worker or widower makes even less than that. Okay. Now, when I tell you that the monthly benefit of, that $1,543, the idea of to retire on Social Security alone may sound, next to impossible. I just want you to know that 23% of the married retirees and 43% of the single retirees count on their Social Security benefit for 90% or more of their monthly income. So that's a big chunk of the population out there. So when I'm out talking to people and seeing if Extra Help is going to be a program that they're going to qualify for, and I know that they're single, I'm going to be asking not how much your check is, but I normally ask if you're making less than about $1,400 a month, or if they're married, I'd ask if they're making less than about $1,900 a month. Because when you hear that check amount, if they tell you, well, I get a check, my Social Security check is, $1,500, you got to remember that they already took out 144. So the gross is going to be larger. And so they may not fit the chart if you're making, if your check was at $1,500, you look up there and it says 150%, it's going to be $1,610. And you tell me that your check is $1,500, I know that when I add in that 144, you're over the amount. Okay. So that's why I've always used those figures a bit less. I always ask, is your check less than about $1,400? And they go, oh, no, I make, more than that. And then I'll just move on and not go into looking at this program. But if it's in that ballpark, we will. Okay, so here's an example so that you kind of really see the power of Extra Help, because I'm trying to tell you that this is truly significant for people. Now, this chart will show you that even on a partial, the savings that they could get is pretty huge. I was just watching television and saw an advertisement here lately, and the one that I saw was Rybelsus. So I figure that's probably one of the latest and greatest of the diabetic drugs. So it is. And the common prescription is 3 milligram tablet. And so I just, for my calculations, you got to kind of know where it's all coming from. Is that I was using the Walgreens pharmacy on the WellCare Classic PDP. Okay, just I had to pick something. Okay, and so I was looking here for 2021. You'll see here that if somebody is, we'll start at the bottom. They get no help at all. This is just Joe Blow out there, and oh my goodness, it looks like on there we got messed up on the, or I did, on the cost of the drug here. It should be 864. Let me fix that. There we go. 864.21 is what the cost of the drug would be. By the way, if you didn't have any prescription drug plan at all, and you had to use something like GoodRx, you could get it down to about $813, maybe about a $50 savings. But for somebody who doesn't, this is just the average person, no extra help. Their first time they fill that prescription and they had to meet their deductible. So you're going to wind up paying about $447 the first time you fill it. And then after that, it'll be $32 a month. That would probably get you through and quite a ways until you hit the gap. Now you're paying 25% of the cost, so you're down to $218.99. If this was the only drug you were taking, you'd never go into catastrophic coverage. But if you were taking some other drugs along with it, it could easily push you into that. And now your cost would drop down to $43.80. Now, somebody who even just gets partial extra help, they just qualify. They were just under the 150. Okay, the first time they filled the prescription, $124 because they still got to meet their $92 deductible. Right? Then they're going to be after the deductible, paying your copay of $25 on that plan. And if they reached the gap, now they're paying 15% of the cost rather than 25. So it drops down to $129.63. And if they did reach catastrophic coverage, their cost would be $9.20. Okay. So if I was somebody that got the full extra help, so somewhere between 100% of federal poverty level and 135% of federal poverty level, somewhere in there. So now I don't have a deductible. I'm going to pay my copay of $9.20. That's just the name brand copay until I reach catastrophic coverage, at which time I will pay $0. So you can see there, just having that barely about the partial where it's I'm at what they call 75%. The significance of having the deductible lowered and my percentage that I'm paying lowered, and I mean, I'm just going to make out quite a bit. So extra help is really worth the effort if we can get somebody into the program. Okay, again, like I said, you're going to see this a lot of times through here. It's worth about $5,000 per year is the estimated value, and that many people qualify for these big savings and don't even know it. I think you even read that as one of the disclaimers when you're doing an MAPD plan for somebody, when you're enrolling them and you're advising them as part of the plan that extra help may be available. Okay, so who's eligible to even get this? Okay, now if you get that phone call where somebody's looking for some help somewhere, and you're trying to sort out, these people will already have extra help, or they should already have extra help. And that's somebody who is on Medicare and Medicaid, automatically are on extra help. If you're in the Medicare savings program, meaning you didn't quite qualify for Medicaid, however, the state still pays the Part B premium. Okay, so they help out with Part B premium, and so that's savings of $144 for the person anyway. Or maybe they're on SSI, okay, and also receiving Medicare. Those persons will already be on extra help. And the good news is they have a SEP, and we're able to enroll them in something. because typically the reason that they're coming to you is they have some sort of a problem, and we've gone through and determined that I can help you now because you have extra help. The next group will be having to qualify. Okay, so many of these people are going to be eligible, but we just need to know what to gather up here. We're going to have to do an application, and we need to have a list of their income, their resources and assets, and their household size. Okay, so like I said, it goes back to, that 150% value is dependent upon household size and income. So they could easily still qualify, but they've got more assets than you would have thought that it would be allowable. Okay. So here's what we need to know. We need to know their wages if they're working, Social Security income, what they get there, and then support from other family members. Now that one I've always found very confusing, okay? Because that next statement in there says that if the help from other family members is simply used to, pay household expenses, food, mortgage, rent, electricity, that kind of stuff, then it doesn't count. So I always figure if somebody is giving you money, it's going to those things. Okay, so just for what it's worth. Okay, these are the income limits. Okay, and like I said, right now I'm always even really cautious to give these out because they're gonna be changing. And if you see it says changes in every February or March right in there, right now is the time that all of that is being integrated into the various websites and literature that goes out concerning extra help. So I think we're looking at 2020 numbers here right now, but let's really kind of look at some of the stuff that goes with it. Those are the limits. However, to qualify, your income has to be less than that 19,320 or 26,000 if you're married, right? But even if you're over, you may still qualify, especially if you live in Alaska or Hawaii, because they have higher limits. Now, not all cash payments count as income. Okay, so we gotta, that's why I was saying you just have to really add things up, and I almost always say apply unless give it a shot. Things that don't count, things like supplemental nutrition, SNAP, right? Food stamps doesn't count. Housing assistance, that doesn't count. If you're getting any kind of home energy assistance, medical treatment and drugs, disaster assistance, earned income credit for your taxes, assistance to pay household expenses, victims' compensation payments, scholarship and education grants. See, these all don't count towards your income. So that's why I was saying that when you get a lot of these together, I always just go ahead and apply. I usually just go by the documented income of wages and Social Security. Then resources. These are the things that you own. Can be real estate, bank accounts, cash, stocks, bonds, mutual funds, IRAs, that kind of stuff. Okay. Now, most of the people that I've dealt with in the extra help realm don't own any of these kinds of things. Some of the things that are in the list that don't count is going to be your home. You could actually own your home. And many times it's just been in the family, right? You know, and passed from grandparents to parents to children, and just stays in the family, but has no real value. Probably, you know, you couldn't sell it for much anyway if you wanted to. Besides, then where would you live? Okay? Farmland, if they're farming the land, doesn't count. When I say life insurance policy, we're really looking at term life because whole life does have a cash value. You get to exempt a vehicle. Okay? Um, Not going to get into personal possessions. They don't count that. You can own your burial plot. You can actually have one of those prepaids where the value is up over $1,500, and it still doesn't count. Okay? So these are, there's just so many things that don't count when they get in there. Now, you need to do this, okay? I would try to, you want to, somebody tells you they get extra help. So let me tell you a little story of what happened to me. Okay, this is, I was working with a client, and this is back when I was pretty new. So I've got my gathering worksheet there, and I'm asking all the questions on there. And in reality, once they told me that they had moved, I should have stopped asking questions, but I didn't that time. So I'm just kind of going through my worksheet there, asking all the questions on there. And one of them is do you receive any extra help? And my customer responds, oh yeah, I get extra help. So that as I'm going along here, and we picked a plan, we're doing an enrollment, they've got an SCP. So I'm a happy camper moving along. And so then I'm quoting out the cost of medications, right off there. But hey, they got extra help, so I'm giving them the values using extra help. And then the customer says to me, then what do I need to do with like all these coupons I got? And it's like, excuse me, what do you mean your coupons? Yeah, the extra help I was getting from the manufacturer. Oh, you don't have extra help. You're getting help, but you don't have extra help. You're not part of that program, okay? They were just getting the coupons from the manufacturer. And that's when it hit me to be careful with this, because when you ask if you're getting extra help, I'm going to tell you that the customer considers any help that they're getting to be extra help, okay? So the moral of the story is that we need to verify their extra help and what level of extra help that they have, okay? Now, in order to do this, I'm going to need some information. And it starts off with these 5 pieces. I got to have these. And I got to not only have the zip code, I need the zip code that Social Security thinks that they live in. I don't know how many times I've played whack-a-mole with Social Security numbers, trying to fill in all the information and seeing if it would come back giving me a status on the person. When they've moved multiple times and had never updated their zip code with Social Security and Medicare. So it was just a mess. But it doesn't work the way that system isn't the same as it used to be. So basically, we're going to gather all this information and we're going to call the carrier. The carrier has got a link back to CMS, and they can tell us whether or not they have extra help, and if they do, what level of extra help that they have. Okay. Now, some people have already built accounts with Social Security, or at Medicare, in which case you can log into their account and see what their level of extra help is. Okay. This kind of used to be the old way that you could do it. It's still doable, but it's not as easy as it once was. Okay, you'd simply go over here to the Medicare.gov website. This is that opening page. On the far left is sign up / change plans, and you come down to the bottom and it says check your enrollment. Okay, Click on there, and it's going to take you to this picture, this one right here. If they've already created an account, you just put in their username and password. Okay? We have been asked by CMS not to just open accounts for our customers, but if your customer has one or you want to assist them, that is okay. But remember, it's their account. Okay? And once you put in a username and password, it would show you something like this. Okay. In this case, the person had a Humana Preferred RX plan with no subsidy. But you can see how it tells you what the plan they're enrolled in and what your current subsidy level is. Yeah, you can do that if you can log into Medicare. The thing is now this same website will let you go in and look at Medicare billing, look at your whole Medicare record and see what's, when you've gone to the doctor and all that kind of stuff. So it contains a whole lot of private information. And so you could be reluctant to like give that out to anybody. So this is the how to get somebody into the program. Okay, so multiple ways to get there, and this is, like I said, one of the things that makes Medicare so confusing and why all this knowledge is necessary is it tells you here. You can go online and go to that, which we'll do that here in a moment. You can call on the phone and do the application that way, or it says request an application, or you can go to the Social Security office and get assistance there. Now, you can go onto the website and pull an application off of one of the government forms websites. But what you're going to find is across the top of the form, it says, do not submit this form, even though it's the form for applying for extra help. Excuse me. So you just got to kind of watch that one. I always thought it was kind of humorous, but I would simply do this for my customers. I'd come up here, click on, where take this website, and we will simply go to the website and take a look at it. Okay, and if you click on there, here's what you get. Okay, and down here it says apply for extra help. That blue banner there across the bottom. This is strictly if you load in that address, socialsecurity.gov benefits -Medicare, excuse me, not hyphen, but /Medicare /prescription help. It'll take you to this page, and it says apply for extra help with Medicare prescription drug costs. Click on that. It takes you right here to the application. Okay, and so we go down through here. It's got a lot of information, but here's one of the things. It says find out if you qualify there on the right. Don't bother with that one, okay? Because if you start over here on the left, if you don't qualify, it'll shut you down right away anyway. So just save the effort. Okay, we'll just hit apply now. And you just come on down. It just tells you that they want you to use the buttons at the bottom. So we'll hit next. Okay, who should use this? And this is what it starts off with. Are you assisting someone with their application? In other words, it's not about you. So I'd say, yes, I'm helping somebody. Now it's going to tell me to answer all the questions as if I was the person, though. Okay. So it says, did you or your spouse, if married, get an application in the mail from us? We'll just say, no, doing it online. Do you or your spouse have Medicare? Yep, we do. Are you or your spouse, over 69 and 9 months? In other words, getting ready to join Medicare? Okay, I'll just say nope. Have you, okay, we're just going to say that in this case, I'm not on disability or Lou Gehrig's or renal failure. And I am in Kentucky, just to pick a state. What's your marital status? I'm just for, say, widowed, okay? I mean, you could have picked whatever it is. And then it says, do you have combined savings, investment, and real estate worth more than $29,520? If I say yes, it's going to say you don't qualify, okay? And then stop the application. So we'll just say no and continue on. So it tells me, go ahead, complete the application. So we say apply now. This is what I was saying. So this is going to be me, the person filling out the application. So I put in my name and information. I am their agent. So I put down here and say agent, okay, agency as my relationship to them. And I put in my phone number, my address and stuff, okay. Okay. This is the applicant. This is the person here whose information that we're trying to get into the extra help program. Now, the next one I always like to call your attention to down here is it says other information. I always wanted them to contact the individual if they have questions. If they call me, then I have to get the question. I have to go call the individual and then fight my way back into Social Security to give them the info. I'd rather they simply talk to the person because it's typically, if they have any questions, it's going to be about something that was filled out on there and money, address, zip code, whatever, I don't know, okay? And the other one I want to point out is down here at the bottom. It says if the person is not interested in this information going on to the state to see if they would qualify for the Medicare Savings Program, where the state would pay their Part B premium, or maybe even put them on Medicaid. A lot of people, the requirements are different between these two programs. You could easily be down there at the 100% level, but have on income, but have way too many assets to qualify for Medicaid. But the Medicare Savings Program has a lot less stringent requirements, and they may qualify for that. But anyway, if you put a check in the box, they won't even apply. Once it goes to Social Security, it stops. If you leave it blank, when Social Security is done, they will forward it on to the state, in this case, the state of Kentucky, to see if that person could possibly qualify for any of the state programs. So that's kind of, between you and your customers to whether or not they want to do that. I just know that a lot of times people feel certain stigma being attached with Medicare, Medicaid, and stuff like that. You just don't know about the person. Just give them the option and let them know. Now that's as far as I can go on the application, because I would fill out any information in there, and if I hit next, it'll simply tell me that I left too many blank boxes. So we'll just continue on with our discussion here. Okay. So now, after you hit submit and have applied, it's going to be reviewed by the Social Security Administration. In about 3 or 4 weeks, they're going to send a letter out to the beneficiary to let them know. Now, the letters are color coded. We want them to get one on a green piece of paper. Green means that they applied and that they were accepted. Okay? If it comes back on a gray piece of paper, they've been declined, okay, and that they didn't qualify. So there's just some color coding in there. But if I had their login on their Medicare account, I would be, after this was submitted, about a week later, I'd start every day checking their account to see when it says they're approved or disapproved, because I always really liked being able to call them up and say, hey, I've got some great news for you. You know, your extra help's been approved. You're at 100%, 50%, whatever, and get started on doing an enrollment under their next plan. Because for some reason they have contacted you. That's what got you into this. Somehow they had some sort of a problem with their Medicare. They may have just been unable to afford a prescription that they got. They may have found that the prescription that they just received from the doctor is not covered in their formulary. These are the kinds of things that caused that phone call to you to begin with. There was usually some desperation that got them to trying to find something to provide some kind of relief to the problem that they had. And so as soon as I was able to do that enrollment, I want to get it done. Okay. A lot of times, though, they were also able to get some, maybe not full Medicaid, but maybe they got that $144 back into their Social Security check. I mean, that's great too. I mean, we're all in this for a lot of altruistic reasons, but primarily we want to do an enrollment and make the money on that. Okay, but this is one of the few places where we're actually able to come in and help somebody. Now, what happens if they don't qualify? Like I said, the ultimate goal was to enroll the beneficiary in a plan. And the purpose of us helping with all this LIS was to generate that special election period. So if I'm unable to develop this set and complete the enrollment, I do want to make sure that I lay the groundwork for the AEP, because there's always an AEP coming, right? So we want to enroll them now or enroll them later, and I would obviously prefer to do it earlier. I also want to show my worth to them. I want to get them into my program and start cementing my relationship by helping them with their current situation. So these are some of the ways that I can be of value. That first website there, what that one will do for you is show you the pharmaceutical assistance that's available from the drug manufacturer. Remember, I was talking about this one lady had the coupons. Well, that's where you would go and get these coupons or help your customer get the coupons. You know, on the Medicare website under the pharmaceutical assistance, it gives you every manufacturer out there and what programs that they have to get their medication. It could be a free prescription medication program, or it could maybe be just a really low cost to get those. Okay. Now, prior to 2006, which was when we started our Part D program, almost every state out there had a state pharmaceutical program. Many of those are still out there. I mean, there's a lot of states that still have drug assistance programs for the elderly. I know the first one that always comes to mind when I think of these is the New York state plan called EPIC, but there's quite a few of them. Now, some of the plans are very specific, for over age 65. Some are for just maybe HIV, or maybe just for persons with kidney failure, ESRD, things like that. But there's a lot of state programs out there that you can look at still too, and discount programs. So that I always try to explain to them how using mail order, many of the plans out there will mail a 90-day supply of tier 1 and some tier 2 drugs at zero cost. So those are always good to get people into too. Even if it's, I used to give away discount cards to anybody who would take one, to try to get being able to keep my name in front of people. Okay. So these are a few of the programs that are still available out there that are outside of the assistance, through extra help. All right, that's kind of what I had here for today. Quite a lot of information there. Like I said, don't get too hung up on the numbers themselves. Just remember all those percentages. In the next over the next, I'd say 2 months, we'll see everything settle out on Medicare's website, and you can see exactly the dollar values that they're looking at. But if you can get a federal chart, like I said, I had to kind of cobble one together from the information I could find. And but those percentages will be the key thing. So as long as they're making less than 150% of the federal poverty level, you should be able to get somebody into one of these programs. Most of these people do not have, um, you know, big bank accounts or big IRAs and that sort of thing to have to worry about. Remember that most, more than half the country doesn't have more than $1,000 saved up. So it's not going to be surprising when you get out there. And if you're able to get somebody into this program, I mean, some of these are just life-changing for the customer. You save them $50 to $100, and they're on that fixed income. That can be the difference between food and medications. Okay, and we all hear those horror stories in the news, but I've actually spoken with these people and have helped them get into these programs. All right. If anybody has a question, go ahead and just jump out there. I see. I always just like to highlight next training next month will be special needs programs and how those work and how to get people into those. Everything from Medi to chronic illnesses. So if you don't have any questions, we'll see you next month when we talk about the special needs plans. You guys have a great rest of your day, and good luck out there.